men older than me, men younger than me, men same age as me, men working in the same office as me. All I have tried.
Wow.
We want to thank you for taking your time and tuning into us.
Yes.
It means a lot to us that you have chosen to spend the next 30 minutes or so playing our episode on Spotify.
Yes.
It means that you have the intention to be a better version of yourself.
Yes.
To be happier version of yourself, to connect, and we really are very honored.
Yeah. And right now, I want you to thank yourself. 有没有为你的 practice 有没有 So I want you to thank yourself for doing this.
Wow.
I want you to thank yourself for setting time aside to do this, to learn, to commit to your own growth.
Yeah.
So
you can
good
think
on you.
Oh, I like this, Jeremy. Okay, so you can thank yourself in two ways. Say to yourself in your own heart, I thank you, Maddy, for tuning in. Or do it my style, which is pat yourself on the back,
Give yourself
thanking
a
yourself for
hug.
listening to us.
Yes.
And of course, we thank you and we love you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
So, we're talking about unresolved chapters today.
Yes.
Okay, let me give a bit of background,
Like-
inspiration. 为什么有这个
为什
inspiration?
么?
So I was having a coffee chat with a friend one day. Imagine it's one of those heart-to-heart chats. HT, heart-to-heart talks. So obviously I think it was about an hour and a half or 2 hours. We were talking about, life. And we were deep into conversation about some of the things that were happening to us. Because both of us were kind of starting a new job at the same time.
Wow.
This year,
New
2024.
season.
Yeah, new season. So a transition happening. Talking about, what's happening at work, what's happening in life. So she suddenly brought up something. Because she had quite a bad experience in a previous company.
Okay.
And so basically, without telling the full story, she put her trust in the wrong people.
Okay.
So it was a case of mistrust. And she actually realized that this has been happening to her again and again.
Wow.
That she's been putting trust in the wrong people time and again. Yeah, and this seems to be a recurrent issue or recurrent problem in her life. And she was like, yeah, but like I always seem to do that. And obviously it's giving her a lot of frustration. It's giving her a lot of angst. It's giving her a lot of, I think, sadness.
Yeah.
Because I think when you give trust to someone and that trust is being betrayed, I think for sure you're going to feel like very defeated, feel angry, and other emotions. So, yeah, so that was really the inspiration behind. And then I started to think about how many of us actually have these recurrent themes, recurrent mistakes, and recurrent issues in life. And I tell you, a lot of us have it.
All of
Myself
us have
included.
it. All
of us have it. Yeah. So that inspiration, the spark came from that moment.
No, I know.
Yeah. So I was thinking, how would it be for us to go deep a little bit, right? And talk about things that have bothered us, that have hindered us from getting to where we want to be, or hindered us from being a better person or growing as a person. Because a lot of times, I believe it's always the same things that hold you back.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's always a recurrent, the same things. And they will show up in different situations.
Yeah.
They'll show up at work, they show up in personal life, they show up in your relationships, they show up in different
Your
relationships.
work. Yeah.
So this is the inspiration.
And I like it, and I picked up something that, how do we grow? How do we grow out of this recurrent thing that is making us feeling frustrated, angsty, upset, lonely, and probably a lack of confidence on how to then trust the right people?
Of course.
I think, and that brings us to my why, and the why we are doing this episode, because we are meant to keep changing and growing. And this is the only way to grow, is to look back at these recurring themes and then see how do we do it better. Because if we don't stop to reflect on some of these recurring mistakes, and we all make mistakes, all of us have these unresolved chapters, and that's the reason why we want to share our stories.
Yes.
With taking these unresolved chapters as a learning, how do we learn from it? How do we reflect? And ideally not make the same mistake and then do it better.
Yeah. And without giving a very chim definition, I think it's not as if, I think if you Google unresolved chapters, I don't think you can find it.
can. I think can.
They can, okay,
can.
maybe we try. But I think this is my very layman.
We want to make it as layman as possible so that it is applicable for you and you can take it immediately.
So you can relate to it.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of define your unresolved chapters as issues or problems or anything that holds you back time and again. It could be a feedback that's been given to you time and again. It could be like any issue, anything at all. It could be a toxic relationship. Even. It could be a toxic relationship even. So I think we want to talk about it. We want to know what we can do about it. And I think how we can break out of it. Hopefully we can give you some tips and again some more sharings.
Yeah.
Because obviously you, both Maddy and I, we have some of these unresolved chapters. And obviously you have found certain ways to cope with it, probably still coping with it, but hopefully you will learn some of these little tips from us. Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of these unresolved chapters of our life, whether is it at work or relationship or money or whatever, it's a lot to do with people, right?
I think
it's
so.
about people.
Yeah, a lot of it is
managing
people.
your trust with people, managing relationships, being in love or work connections. It is all about people. And I think each of us, we have our own stories to share. And the reason, and another big reason why I want to share about my story is that I've taken so many years stuck in this recurring unresolved chapters that I wish not you don't have to face, or rather you don't have to go through the same number of years that I did. Because of all the years that I've had these recurring relationship issues, it's because I don't stop and pause, I don't reflect, I don't make it better. And because I don't do that, then I spend so many years in these poor relationships. And the last that we want, what we want for you is to know that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Which
like
means that you don't have to go through 10 years of bad relationships or 10 years of toxic work environment for you to realize that it's bad for you. You can actually do it at 1 year, 2 years. Make it short.
Yeah. So I think this episode is gonna caution, red caution. I think it's gonna bring us some discomfort. In some of us. And even for myself, I think when I was preparing for the podcast, I'm like, I think it was some discomfort that I would have to share. But I was very clear about how that discomfort felt at that time. And I think later on we have to share our stories. Some of this discomfort can be very physical. Like to the point where like it almost drains you and it hinders you from going out. Even to that point. So I think we do need to address it, and I feel that it's not an easy topic, but I think once you start talking about it, that's the very start, at least.
I like it. And I think the reason why many of us are in recurring unresolved chapters is because we are not able to face the discomfort. Or rather, we know that there's discomfort, but instead of looking at it in its eyes and be friendly with it, face it, we avoid it. So because of the fear of discomfort, we avoid, and then what happens is that these unresolved chapters comes up again and again.
Again and again, And I think this is really interesting, that life always throws the same challenges back at you when you don't hurdle it. It's always like that. Like 你不过关 you always have the same one. Life will just throw it back at
and
you.
The next one can be even harder.
It could be harder.
So you just have to face one at a time.
One stage at a time.
One stage at a time.
But you just have to pass a stage.
Yes.
I think it's a bit like playing computer game. Right?
I don't play games, I don't know how it works. All the level,
the different level.
Yeah. Brick game, I know brick game.
Let's say, do you play Super Mario last time?
I only play brick game.
What's a brick game?
Tetris.
Oh, Tetris.
Brick game 你不懂咩？你错了 generation 的
Tetris
咧。
有 Tetris. Okay, Tetris same, right? If you want to go to the next level, you must clear this level first, right?
Yes.
Right? But if you don't clear this level, you always start at this level. Correct?
Yeah.
You always start at this level, you go through the level again and again and again until you pass the level.
Correct.
Then yes.
And then you gain mastery at level 1.
Yes.
Then you go to level 2.
Correct.
Then the bricks come down faster. Then you go to level 3.
Correct. Because you're comfortable with the bricks, you're fast enough to maneuver, you've got the right level of skills to move on. Because if you don't have all of that, then you cannot clear the stage, right? Then if you cannot clear the stage, you cannot move on to the next stage. That's as simple as that.
In my mind, I'm thinking how come when I'm suffering in all these relationships, why this podcast is not around?
No one
somebody
told you
to tell me, somebody to teach me that, hey girl, you don't have to go through so many different bad relationships for you to have a good one. But yes, that is make me who I am today.
That's why they say everything is perfect vision on hindsight.
Wow. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I think you shared one of the quote, right?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
one
I
of
think it's
the
perfect vision on hindsight. So, I mean, for us, we've got all the experience. We've gone through all these things.
We've got all the stories.
Yeah, we've got all the stories, and that's what we're here to share. Hopefully,
Yeah.
make a difference.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Is it me?
okay, so maybe you want to start a story?
Okay, I
yeah,
start.
go with a story about your unresolved chapter, and then
Okay.
we can talk about how we can.
Yeah, so I probably talked a little bit about this in our second episode about from us to you, right? About my past.
I remember
So
this.
one big chunk of my life. So now I'm 42 this year, and I was calculating, right, when I was doing the notes. I have spent 15 years of recurring bad relationships.
15 years, that's so long.
15 years. Okay, maybe I won't say bad lah, but recurring relationships.
Right.
In and out of all sorts of relationships.
So
and I
15
mean
years-
love relationship, dating relationship.
15 years from which age to which age?
I started, okay, my first boyfriend is 16 years old.
Okay.
15 now, okay, I mean 15 now.
Okay.
So between the age of 15 to 29, I've been in and out of dating relationships with men. Okay, many in my life. I remember this thing that I said in one of the episodes. And this is like my relationships are diverse, right? They are as short as 4 months, 6 months, also have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year,
Yeah.
and all sorts of labels I've been there. Committed, serious, fling,
Complicated.
all sorts also have. Like men older than me, men younger than me, men
Okay.
same age as me, men working in the same office as me. All I have tried.
Wow, a lot of permutations.
A lot of comments. So like
Okay.
15 years now, I look at, oh my gosh, I spent 15 years navigating in and out of relationships.
Yeah.
And these are definitely, I would say, a big chunk of these unresolved chapters. And I always think that I started living only at age 30. Like really started living a life. And that's where this part of me was, but I wish I had done some pause and reflect in order so that I can shorten this thing. But because I cannot undo the time for myself, I would like for you listening to think about some of the things that we're going to share later on how you can shorten your suffering. Because suffering is optional.
Yeah.
But okay, coming back
Yes.
to my relationship. Okay, so like in these diverse relationships that I have, right, I've noticed certain common themes, like why I fall in and out. And the thing is, these are great relationships. I mean, like some of them I form good friendships. I have like great activities. We travel. We do a lot of things. We party too much, perhaps. But I think a lot of these common themes that I face in these relationships is that it is always strong attraction at the start. Attraction.
Right.
Okay.
Physical attraction.
Emotional
Emotional
attraction
attraction,
is
of
always
course.
starting very strong one. And it always starts this, I don't have an English word for this, hong hong le le.
Deeply passionate.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
Yeah. Fireworks, passionate, all that strong emotions, all at the start. This is common theme of every single of my recurring relationship. It all starts off like
You're
this.
chasing the feeling of love.
Yes, chasing the feeling. Oh, somebody is making me feel special. Oh, this guy
Right.
is saying something that makes me laugh. I feel good. Oh my, I feel cherished. I feel sexy. I feel nice. So these are all the common themes. I feel good.
Got it.
The feel good feeling is always 100% at the start.
And these were the things that you always looked out for.
These are the things that I find myself being attracted to. And it always happens at the start of these diverse relationships.
Got it. Okay.
And then another common theme is disagreements. After the start of this fireworks, passionate attraction, all this kind of thing, it always comes down to a more stable, kind of more mundane part of the relationship, whereby then we have quarrels,
Right.
disagreements, micro disagreements, and then there's a lot of proving, a lot of a lot of cycles of quarreling and sweeping conversations, uncomfortable conversations under the carpet.
Right.
And I didn't have specific examples here, but it can be as simple as maybe for certain things that you quarrel the night before,
Okay.
right? And then you slip off the next day. And then next morning, you ignore it as if it has never happened.
Right. Okay.
Instead of bringing up the topic and having a good conversation about it, I choose not to say.
Okay.
And maybe it has been done it before, but you know that it always never ends up in something fruitful, and you just dismiss it. And then it becomes a habit of always sweeping things under the carpet, having micro disagreements, but then you just treat it as if it's never happened. And there's a lot of also avoidance of these micro self-talk that I have in my mind.
Right.
Whereby, for example, I have this particular, one of my ex-boyfriend, right? He is 10 years older than me. He's a great guy, by the way. He's a great guy, and then he's got great friends. But I remember he likes to hang out with a group of friends that are of his age group. And at the point, I was pretty young, in my 20s. So I always have this feeling that whenever I join the social gatherings with his friends, I don't feel very much connected. Because firstly, we are kind of a different generation.
Yes. Different age group, different generation.
We speak a different language. They speak a lot in dialect. I don't freaking understand Hokkien as well as they can converse.
Okay.
And then I just feel like a bit awkward. But and also I don't feel good. I don't feel like joining. But then each time I will still go. Oh, another thing. They party. They drink a lot. And they drink until dead drunk kind of drink.
Okay.
And I don't like the feeling.
Sure.
So there's a lot of this like discomfort. But like, never mind, I go lah. A lot of dismissing and then going with it. A lot of sweeping under the carpet.
Right. A lot ignoring your own boundaries.
There's no boundaries. So I have no boundaries.
Okay.
I know myself. I don't build a connection with myself. And this is all
because you were in love.
I was in love.
Therefore, the boundaries didn't matter.
Yeah, so I was just being... and I think these problems of these recurring themes is that I realized that now at hindsight, where I'm a very different version of myself, now I realized the problem of why these problems come about is because I chase that love outside of me. It's that external validation. I become the version that my boyfriend wants to be.
Right.
And not that he say he wants, because if I feel that if I don't become that, if I don't go for that social gathering, if I don't join the parties, even if I don't feel like it, I'm not loved. So it's a lot of proving and pleasing. But I didn't know that when I was doing...
In order to receive love.
In order to receive love, because it's always that love and validation that I was chasing.
You need it, yeah.
That's why it's all this sweeping under the carpet and things like that. So this is kind of my summary.
Yeah. So that was obviously a recurring theme because you felt that in every situation it was the same need for external validation, for love.
The same need to feel loved, the same need to feel special.
Right.
That got me hooked.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in order to feel that need to be validated, to be loved, you often compromise your own boundaries.
Always compromise my own. No boundaries.
Right. And do you feel like you lost yourself in that moment, or you lost yourself in those relationships?
I think there are... Whenever there's quarrels, there'll be like, anger, frustration, and then you'll be like, why am I so stupid? How come obviously, this doesn't work, but I still continue? But then, again, the habit of dismissing is so strong that then I'll keep on dismissing. So that's why it took me 15 years of all these relationships to one day realize that, okay, I've had enough. I've had enough of that wrong relationships and I'm just done. Okay. There's no, and back to your question earlier when we were talking about this chapter, right? Is there a wake-up moment for me?
Yeah, what's a turning point?
I really don't think there is a big turning point. It was like, my last 2 relationships before I got married was very bad. Like that is like already 14 years of my relationship. I'm still falling for the bad guys.
Right, because it was a recurring theme.
It was recurring theme.
It's the same challenge that you were not able to get past.
I didn't get past at all.
Therefore, it's the same challenge
no
presented back to
connection
you.
myself, no reflection, no journaling, no self-development work. I don't know what was going on. But and I had no wake-up moment. It was just like, wow, okay, very tired already. I don't want this. Okay, so what happened for me is I don't want this anymore. I know what I don't want.
Right.
And that broke my last short-term relationship. It's more of I was clear what I don't want, but I still don't know what the hell I want. But I know what I don't want.
Okay.
So that's it.
Which was a good place to start.
Yeah.
Right, just knowing your boundaries.
Yes.
Because the boundaries will define what you don't want.
Yeah, I think I've had enough of being stepped over. I've had enough of giving in to some things even though I don't feel like it. It's like, but I still don't know what is that theme or how to even summarize that whole thing. But it's like enough. I think my system is telling me, okay, it's enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it sounded like you were learning to respect yourself.
Yeah, finally after like so many years, eh?
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it again. You don't have to like fall in and out of relationship for so long. That's why I am now pouring my story out without shame.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a part of me. I'm not shameful.
Yeah, and it's very real. It's very real.
Yeah, and it's very real. And then, you know, on hindsight, I also reflected one of the reasons why I'm in this recurring relationship is because of the lack of fatherly presence in my childhood.
Okay.
And I'm saying this, I love my dad a lot, okay? He's a typical Asian dad.
Right.
Work very hard, don't talk so much, bring home the money. Because my mother is a housewife.
Yep, homemaker, yes.
And so like in their time, in their generation, you know, parenting is also done very differently.
Yes.
So this is something that I'm completely right now speaking about it, completely able to embrace the differences in the parenting generation. But I also noticed on hindsight that, hey, why is the reason why I'm in and out of these dating relationships? Because probably has to do because my father has never been really present in my life. Yeah, he's always like, I don't remember, or rather I'm pretty certain that I've never had a heart-to-heart conversation with him.
Right.
He has never asked me how I feel. I think feeling talk wasn't definitely part of the last time's conversation. He has never talked to me much, maybe.
Right.
Maybe the only conversation is sign the report book.
Right.
That's it. To be honest, conversation I don't remember leh.
Right,
I mean, of course we
right,
go on
right.
holidays and all, but that is very like just, you know, doing the motion, right? But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
real parent in my life was really my mother.
I see.
She was the one showing 100% love, cooking, staying with me when I'm doing my homework. But my father, he's really not present.
Yeah.
And then on hindsight, only after being married with children right now, and I think about it, I say, wow. Then, you know, I became, or rather I realized that having this fatherly figure, lack of fatherly figure in my life, probably was a big part of why I'm chasing that love. Because I don't know what a good man is. I don't know what a good man should behave.
Right.
I don't know what he or he should look like. So in short, in my own dating narrative last time, any man that can make me feel good is the man. Any man that can make me laugh, any man that can make me feel special, feel that sparks in my heart, is the man, and I'm gonna fall for him.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I wonder how many of us need to hear this today. How many of us who are stuck in dating scenarios, who are dating the same wrong guy or same girl again and again, and you notice there's always a pattern for who you're falling for. But you brought up a really good point about not having or the absence of a healthy relationship with your father.
Correct.
Yeah. So tell us more about it. I mean, he was absent, but what was it about that absence, you know, of your father that didn't give you the right ability to kind of work, know good men or tell good...
Yeah. And I think, being a father, I think the role of a father to a daughter is really important.
Okay.
And I know that it's this Chinese term to it, right? It's 恋父母情节. It is a term that my husband, he went for a course in Chinese, and they say it's 恋父母情节, which means that like for me, I'm a mother, and if I have a son, what my showing up will impact a lot on the partner that he chooses next time.
Yes, that's true. That is
so
true.
this is the 恋父母情节. So being a father, his presence or lack of presence in my life is going to impact a lot on the type of relationships that I choose if I'm a man in my life. So I think while I fully understand how it feels like to be loved by my mother, but I'm a heterosexual, right? I date men.
Yes.
I'm straight, and then, but I didn't know how it feels like to be loved and cared for by a man. So there's no precedence. There is no good example to fall back to.
There's no role model.
No role model at all.
Yes.
My father's only job is to bring in money.
So
that was something that you don't really bother about because money matters is not to do with the children. It's my parents' thing. So then there's just no examples, no good examples, no bad examples even. Maybe if I had bad examples I wouldn't follow, but it's like a blank piece of paper.
Right. There was a void.
There was a void
in terms of having a right role model and a healthy relationship with your dad.
So I think for me, curiosity into boys started at quite young, 15 years old. I was only secondary 3, you know.
That's when we start exploring,
exactly,
right?
that was like puberty, hormones, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that was where, wow, I start to explore relationship, BGR. Then you go for dating, you go and know people, you go and do silly things, crazy things. But there was a lot of fun, a lot of adventures.
Of course.
But then it became the next 14, 15 years of recurring relationship. It's like that. It's always chasing and finding. And then again, I don't stop and reflect. I never ask myself what went well, what could have been better. It's always chasing that external feeling of being loved.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a good awareness.
Thank you.
For yourself. When do you think you came to that realization of number one, the lack of a good father figure in your life, and then also the fact that you were kind of falling for the recurrent type of men because you were seeking external validation.
I think to the question of when did I, on hindsight, realize that it's a lack of fatherly figure, it's only after I started self-development work. So late. Which means when I am a mother myself, with 2 children, happily married, and then working on a connection with myself through journaling, listening to podcasts, reading, and all this kind of thing, being a life coach, then I realized that, actually there's a link there. The lack of fatherly figure and my recurring relationship. It took me so long.
Yeah. But I think this is the beauty of the content we're talking about today. I think a lot of our unresolved chapters go quite deep. And one of the things that and a lot of times these recurring themes mean that a lot of times we actually respond in a similar way to this situation. And there's probably a reason why we respond in a similar way. So there must be a reason why by default, we're acting in that way. And I'm just happy for you that you actually found that.
Thank you. And I remember that I didn't like being single. I think there was only one period of my life that I was single for like short time, like a few months. And then there was one period was 2 years. But I was always trying, like, it's easy for me to fall in love, actually, because always feeling that wanting that feeling of being needed,
of course,
wanting that feeling of being loved.
Because external validation you needed all the time.
Correct. All those quarrels, micro disagreements, sweeping on the carpet, never mind, because I feel loved, I feel needed, and I'm always being the version that the person wants. But it's basically just means I'm not honoring myself. I'm so being dishonest with myself throughout the whole time. And then that's where, finally I met my husband. That changed the whole thing.
Yeah. That's what sharing, I think, is a very good example of an unresolved chapter, and then you being able to kind of work yourself through it. There's a lot we can learn from there.
We're just, I just want to, we just want to be real and vulnerable here.
For sure.
Just share our stories that each and every one of us have these unresolved chapters, and it's always, there's no best time or no perfect time, but you have to know that if you really come to some honesty check. What is something that is recurring for you that makes you feel frustrated, that makes you feel angry? Then that kind of uncomfortable feeling, discomfort is the best teacher, where you can sit with it and then really go deep, like why?
I think that question, the very simple question asking why to ourselves in a very honest space is so very precious. I think that probably starts all your self-work. Because you often, when you're in the, again, I always say, it's the quiet of the night, when you're alone with your thoughts, and you're often reflecting on, why am I like that? Why do I do that? I think that is like the very start of developing awareness. Because if you don't ask the question, or you dismiss that question, or you rubbish the question, you can never start the journey. And then you realize, oh gosh, there's all these unresolved chapters. And I think, like what I said, it brought you a lot of pain. It brought you a waste of time for 15 years. So I think people who are in toxic relationships start asking yourself why. And I think without sounding like this is like something that's so deep, right? I think it is. I want to say I think it is. It may or may not be depending on the issues you have. But at point of times, you may want to speak to somebody, right? We'll talk about some of these tips later. But at this point of time, I do want to say that if you feel like you are in toxic relationships and you always fall the same type of guys and it's not working out for you, consider seeing a therapist even. Find a little bit more about childhood. Find out what happened. Often we are a product of our past. We are a product of our upbringing. We are a product of our experience.
Our heritage.
Your background. So a lot of times it may be about uncovering what happened in your years to where you are today. And then you'll be surprised at what you may find. Which is why I say at the beginning, this may not be easy. There could be a lot of discomfort because going through your past and then realizing, oh, I'm such a person, or I'm like that because of this. That's not easy.
I think for you listening, there will be some certain things that there's this recurring angst, recurring frustration. And when the frustration comes up, right, what do you do? Do you dismiss it like, "Aiya, you don't know what lah. Aiya, there's no point talking about it lah. Aiya, tomorrow will be okay lah." You know, these are the dismissive things that you say, and you can keep saying for the rest of your life, or you can not really put a stop to it, but deep dive into this discomfort.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm so eager to go into the part about suggestions, right?
Yeah.
How to do it?
How do you even recognize?
How do you even do
how
it?
do we
Okay,
do it?
yeah. Should I do that first, or should I share my story first?
Share your story.
Okay,
I was
share-
waiting. I don't know whether you have a story or not, but
No, I do. Okay, I'll share my story and then we'll talk about some practical suggestions, right? That we suggest you do. Okay, so this is and again, this is something I brought up before, but I'll talk about it a bit more in detail and how that shaped me. Remember my experience in Malaysia?
Oh yes,
Right?
the homie got the blood one.
Yeah, a bag of blood. It was a very political situation. It was a toxic environment, and like I basically left the place very battered, very disillusioned, right? But I think, and again, it's one of the lessons that I'm learning and relearning as I go, because during that period, there was a feedback that was given to me, and the feedback is a recurring theme. The feedback was, Jeremy, you're not firm enough. So you know that have you heard of the DISC personality test?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's dominance, influence, steadiness,
Something about
consistency or something. Yeah. So S was saccharine or something. Can't remember. Right. So essentially, you kind of, it's a very simple personality test to kind of measure which profile are you a little bit more of, right? But of course, personality tests kind of give you an idea of who you are. It doesn't mean that you will be like this forever.
Correct.
It's meant to give you an idea of who you are and then how you can flex different personality styles in different times.
Okay, wait, pause.
Yes,
So,
like,
because to give some context to those who have not caught the earlier episode, okay, so if you want more details on Jeremy's time in Malaysia, you can tune into episode 2 from us to you. But maybe you want to give some context of who are you at the workplace, your leadership role, so that you have some context to this thing.
Sure. So I was, and thanks for bringing that up. I cannot assume, right? So I was in the role of a national sales manager, and that was given that position in Malaysia. So I relocated from Singapore to Malaysia, and I was looking after a team of Malaysians, salespeople, and it was a very dark 2 years of my life, right? I think for a few reasons. One, it was the first time that you were managing a lot of people.
How many people were under you?
10.
Wow, okay.
10 people, right? So from a non-people manager to suddenly being a people manager of 10. I mean, it's a huge difference, right? In terms of your time management, huge difference in terms of what you need to do, manage your calendar, so on and so forth. It was also the fact that I was moving to a different country, right? People may think that Malaysia is next door to Singapore, shouldn't much of a difference. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Different country, different culture, different government, different context. Totally different. Probably the only thing is you have similar food. Like nasi lemak is the same, but even the taste is different, right?
Roti prata is not called roti prata.
Yeah, roti canai, right? So obviously different, even though it's just across the crossway. So I think in that situation, I think a lot of my weaknesses were being exposed, obviously, because you're new in the role,
You're in a difficult,
and you're trying to adapt and all of that. So now I'll go back to the feedback. The feedback that's given to me is you're not firm enough. You need to be firm about what you want.
I'm curious, how did this feedback come to you?
It came to me in different moments of my life. At work, it's come to me in terms of not being firm enough. So sometimes, like, I've got some sales, right? Sometimes customers want this, want that. Not firm enough to say no. Not firm enough to manage to your customers.
Wow.
And then the feedback sometimes at home or in personal life is people observe me and my relationship, right, with my partner, my exes. And then the feedback is, you're not firm enough. Why do you let him step all over you? Why do you say yes to this when you actually wanted this? So again, boundaries
Sounds
issues.
like me.
Yeah, sounds like boundary issues, right?
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't put my foot down and say what I want. And what I want is always seems to be on the back burner because I always put somebody else's needs in front of me. So that feedback has been given to me all the time. But for some reason, I think I either didn't want to acknowledge it, I didn't feel like I want to change it, I didn't want to face the discomfort of changing. Because I know that by default I'm like that. And I think later on.
Okay,
yes,
wait up.
sure.
So when you hear this feedback from your workplace, from your customers that you're not firm enough, don't make the decisions firm enough, when your friends say that you're not firm enough, how come you didn't put your foot down and do something to say what you want? When these feedback, and I want to say that you have really great friends, huh? You have great friends who give you this feedback.
I do.
You have and if a workplace has this feedback collection, I think it's great too.
Yes.
And when you receive this feedback, how do you feel? What do you do with it?
I think what I tried to do at that time was because I know I have a certain way of my default behavior, right? And that's very much my personality. And actually, I know a very big part of me is very people pleasing, and I think it was very uncomfortable to go against the people pleasing part and say no. Saying no because when you want to people, because you feel that you're external, so very similar to you, there was a lot of my self-worth that was coming from external validation. Like I feel that if I say no, I don't get the love that I want. If I say no, they're gonna see me as somebody that they don't like me anymore.
Okay.
If I say no, like I'm not making people happy. I'm not pleasing people. Yeah, but of course I can just say it right now. I can crystallize it in 2 sentences, right? But it's taking me a long time.
How long? Mine was 14 years old. Yours how many years?
I don't know. I think most of my professional life, I think probably my professional life until Malaysia. So I think in a way that Malaysia was a bit of a wake-up call. And you kind of feel like I'm at that low point. And then you're doing a lot of that self-reflection.
So when did you started to acknowledge that, okay, this is a time where I need to face this discomfort and turn this feedback of not firm enough into, something that I can reflect and be better on?
Yeah.
Was there a moment of realization and action for you?
I wouldn't say it was a moment, but there was certainly a phase in my life. And I think that was a phase that we were in the same company in. So I'm very thankful for that. Because that gave me... I always say it's a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Because I came from hell and I went to heaven, in a sense.
Yes.
Because
You're
how...
so grateful.
I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that it was an environment that allowed me to be safe, to be who I am, to allow you to be authentic. And I think that gave me then time and space to think about, who I am as a person and how can I improve. And therefore, the source in which I was starting to do my self-development work wasn't a source of, it didn't come from a place of fear. It came from a space of authenticity, of wanting to be better. But I felt like I was in a safe space to do that.
And you were in an environment that probably gave you a lot of non-judgment space.
Exactly.
Making you feel heard, making you feel that it's possible, and that's where you started to be more who you are.
That's right, yeah. Aww. And I think it gave me space, it allowed me space to make mistakes. Yeah,
so true.
So I think that was one part of it. I think the other part of it was very recent, and that really deepened my understanding of this. And that was the Enneagram profile that we took. Yeah. So I want to do a bit of advertisement here, okay? Yeah. So Wonder Wave Studio, Kat, one of the founders, she's also a certified Enneagram profiler or coach. And she recently did this Enneagram profiling for me. I tell you that was such a revelation.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So so without going into the details of the Enneagram type, but you will know that there are 9 profiles, right? And then there are certain numbers. So mine was a 379. Okay. And again, let me not go into details. I think there's a lot to know about this, and I highly recommend that you should do this because it will give you so much insight into who you are as a person, why you behave in a certain way, why your default is like that. So there was one part where I'm a 9. And a 9 profile means I am a peacemaker. In other words, I value harmony. I value, kind of togetherness. I value the fact that everyone's happy, right? And true enough, I'm like that. I'm a mediator. Whenever any conflict happens, I try to avoid conflict.
Okay.
I try to make sure that everybody's happy. So can you see the people pleasing side of me right now? Because you're in a situation where I want to avoid conflict. I want to make sure that everyone's happy. So I want to say sometimes that works because in sales you're trying to make everybody happy, right?
Yeah.
Win-win-win, isn't it? Customer wins, you win, internal wins, so
it can be a strength.
It can be a strength. But on the flip side, it also means that sometimes you're very grey on your boundaries. Yeah. And then I think that was a feedback given. That sometimes you need to know your boundaries. You need to say no. So I think that the revelation for me was, that is why I'm like that. Because for the longest time, I was given that feedback, isn't it? Like, hey, you're not firm enough. Not firm enough as a leader. Not firm enough as a salesperson. Not firm enough on this. So at the time, I was like, doesn't seem right because I feel like I can still achieve what I want to do. Why do I need to be firm in this, right? So on and so forth. So I never quite got the true idea of why I need to change. I never felt why I need to change.
So how did that Enneagram profiling, showing you that you there's this part of you that is what you already know,
Yes.
coming from feedback, that was a revelation for you?
It just really deepened that, especially the people pleasing part, because for the longest time I was so apologetic for people pleasing,
Okay.
right? Because we know it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's like, yeah, I'm a people pleaser, and I was putting myself down for it. I'm a people pleaser.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I should be more firm. I'm a people pleaser. I shouldn't be pleasing people. But you know that doesn't work because you're denying a part of yourself.
Yeah, you're denying just who you are.
That's just who you are, right? So it doesn't come authentic. And so even if I want to be firm, it didn't feel like it was very convincing when doing it. I couldn't convince myself doing it, right? So when I did it very half-heartedly, or I felt that I didn't feel authentic in doing that.
Maybe because there was a little bit of, without having done that Enneagram profiling, you know that it was a problem, this people pleasing, but you weren't able to fully own it.
Yeah,
so there
yeah,
was
yeah,
a bit of a denying of that part of who
Yes.
you are, and then in the end, your outcome and behavior is a bit half-half.
Yes.
But after realizing that it is who you are, and there was then kind of total acceptance.
Yeah. Because now I'm not apologetic. Because I know I'm like that. So I know this is me. This is embracing who I am.
Yeah.
By default, this is me. I shouldn't be sorry for who I am. I should be authentic and embrace who I am. I think that's when the self-shaming stopped.
Yeah.
That's when I go like, okay, stop hating yourself for being a people pleaser. Because you know what? This is your cycle. This is how your personality makeup. This is how you operate. On the good side, you maintain harmony. You are a good mediator. Yeah. Now, then it helps you to go, okay, let's accept it. I embrace it. Then now I can know how to put my boundaries. And I'm not putting guilt and not putting shit on myself for being a people pleaser, because I know there's a part of it that's really good. Yeah, there's a part where like I'm maintaining harmony, and all of that. But now I need to learn to work on my boundaries. So it was a different approach altogether.
This is so powerful.
It's powerful.
This is so powerful. This part about self-acceptance,
Yeah.
coaching, going back to one of our episodes, which is Who Needs a Coach?
Yeah.
And if you have heard, without stopping what Jeremy just shared about his own blind spot becoming clarifying for him,
Yes.
it's just simply real, kind of in your brains that there's something that's not working out. But then really through deeper diving into that this is part of who you are, that full acceptance brings you to a higher level of yourself, something like that.
For sure. So I think it's like that. I think we can safely say sometimes you really need to fully own the problem.
Fully own the problem. Yeah.
Fully own the problem, fully understand the impact of a problem, the source of your actions and behaviors, then you can really work on it.
And after you fully own, I think that's one thing that you mentioned, that you stop shaming yourself.
Yes.
You own already.
Yes.
It's not like you own and then you're like, yes, I'm powerful. You don't do. It's not. It's gonna take time. Okay.
Yeah.
You own already. You sit with it, and then you realize that this is who I am.
Yeah.
You stop being shameful. You stop being apologetic for who you are.
Yeah.
Then you do something differently.
Absolutely. And then you work from a source of authenticity.
Yes.
Embracing yourself, who I am, and do it.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about one more point from this. It was about disassociating my self-worth from external validation.
Wow.
And that was very, very powerful for me, because that was the reason for me to be able to be firm. Because
After the Enneagram profiling,
profiling,
that's why I see you differently
this
already.
deepened after that, really.
My gosh,
Because
Kat!
yeah, I know, Kat. Thank you. So I want to say this because in the past, so that's the difference, yeah. In the past, saying no means I'm rejecting you, Saying no means I'm rejecting you. I'm not agreeing with you. I'm not aligned with you. That to me felt like I'm not able to get your external validation. That felt to me like I'm not I'm not worthy.
Like you're sorry for saying no.
I'm sorry
where
for
actually
saying
you don't
no.
have to be sorry.
Exactly. So my self-worth was dependent on external validation. So when you say no, when I say no to you, or when you say no to me, self-worth gets
painful.
attacked.
Okay.
Yeah. But then again, going back to this Enneagram profiling, I realized that wait a minute, I can really learn to disassociate my self-worth from external validation. Even if I say no, that doesn't mean that I don't value you. Even if you say no to me, that doesn't mean my self-worth is any less. So this is me starting again, learning again to establish my boundaries and protecting my self-worth and my self-value and confidence, and knowing that saying no doesn't impact my self-worth at all.
Wow. I can imagine people who are listening to this, they'll be like, I want to disassociate my self-worth from external validation too. How do I do it? How?
Good question.
We need the tips.
Good question.
Because I think both of us are sharing these kind of stories in a completely different generation of our life.
Yes,
but yet, it's kind of surrounding the same topic, right? People pleasing, seeking the love externally, getting our self-worth attached to who we want our boyfriends to think we are and what our colleagues think. So, 怎么办?
What to do? Okay, this is the perfect moment to move into our tips, right? Or suggestions. I've got 3 here.
Yes. I don't have anything.
No worries. Let's talk about it. So the first one is to address your unresolved chapters, right? The first to address or to work on it or to whatever, but you just know that you need to work on it.
Okay, then I think our listener will be like, I have so many unresolved chapters. Which one do I address?
Which one do you address? I would say choose the one that is bothering you the most.
Yeah.
Choose the one that causes you the most anxiety, the one with the most frustration, the one that gives you the most regret, the one that holds you back in life, and you will know it. You don't have to put it through a test or a rating.
Yeah. You don't have to write a 500-word essay. You will know it.
You don't have to. You will know it. If you're honest enough in your life, you will know it.
I think it's very simple. You just need to ask yourself this question. Which area in my life do I have the most frustration and regret? In the immediate second, your body should give you an answer.
Yeah.
Because you don't overthink it. Because when you start overthinking it, then you're like, oh yeah, not this, not that, not that. So the first answer that comes to your mind, whether it's a relationship with your boss or relationship with your parent, that is the answer. That is the one.
Yeah.
Hack your mind. Take the first answer.
Yeah. And you're right that a lot of times it does relate to people. Yeah. I think most of the time it does relate to people.
Because we won't have a frustrating relationship with our Excel worksheet, right? I'm just suddenly, because I was thinking of Excel on the weekend, like, just Google what is the formula to do this.
Exactly. You can just Google it.
You can Google it. But relationship, you need to address it first. Okay, first step.
First step. I think first step we briefly talked about it. It's about choosing discomfort. Choosing discomfort over resentment.
Wow.
Because when you choose discomfort in the moment, it's hard, It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and go like, this is who I am. Finding out, what are your true motives, what's your personality in terms of driving your behavior. That's the hard part. Yeah. But if you don't choose this discomfort, guess what? You have 15 years of resentment. Yeah. You have resentment, you have guilt, you have anxiety, you have regret, all line up for you. Because if you don't go through this challenge, it's like a Tetris game. You're always back to the same challenge. You cannot
You never break out to level 2.
You cannot go to the next level. Exactly. Because you're always stuck at this level because you've not learned how to conquer this level.
So I think don't let the discomfort of addressing stop you. Because if you don't choose to face this discomfort now, this discomfort is going to come back to you in 1,000 folds. And 1,000 folds can mean another 10 bad relationship, another 20 years wasted. Because you really don't know when you're going to die, right? This is the truth. So, choose discomfort.
And the gravity of it does increase. Because as you go along in life, your responsibilities increase. The more people you impact with your decisions. So I think the more you go, the longer and the more you go in life, you start realizing that the impact of your decisions get bigger and bigger. So therefore, the consequences are more, right? So my point is, I think choose discomfort, choose to learn from it, and choose to see that you need to change. Because sometimes the only way is through it. Yeah, the only way is through it. Cannot someone.
Yeah, cannot
No
someone.
shortcut. Cannot someone.
Yeah.
Cannot walk around.
If you try to change your partner,
Yeah.
if you choose to change your child's behavior, you will never succeed.
Yeah.
I think I dare to say that you will never succeed.
Yeah.
Because it is in their own discretion and their decision to be the way they are, to say the words they want to say. The only thing, and I think we've said this a few times, right? The only thing that they can change is your thoughts and what action can you take?
Yeah.
Change yourself first.
Yes. Yeah. Change yourself, change your mindset, change your perspective,
Yeah.
change your narrative in your mind. That's always where it starts. Yeah. So I feel that I had to, in my situation, I had to confront who I am before I could make changes to the way I dealt with things. Yeah. But is that the hard? But that's
It's
the
the
hard part.
discomfort part.
That's the hard part. Confronting yourself is the hard part.
Yeah.
Learning that I'm really a people pleaser, but then also realizing that being a people pleaser was part of my setup. But
Owning
learning
it.
to deal with that, all of that, it took years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is
No
work
shortcut,
that you do.
sorry. I mean, these stories that we're sharing and these tips, what we're saying is it is work to be done.
Yeah.
You have to do the work.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut, but there's definitely you can do it. You don't have to go through that many years of suffering. You can make it shorter, but you need to start the work today. You need to face the discomfort today. You need to address the situation. You need to work on yourself because that's the only thing you can control.
Yeah, I mean, someone said this before. You can learn from mistakes, but you can learn from other people's mistakes. Yeah, you don't have to learn from your own mistakes.
Yeah.
So learning from other people's mistakes could be the smarter way to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously don't waste time. But of course, I also feel that life is like that. I mean, sometimes we just got to go through it, right?
Yes.
To experience that. But hopefully, you get a bit more smarter about this. So that's the first point, right? Choosing discomfort. I think the second point is don't be afraid to ask for help, which I mentioned just now earlier.
Yes.
Sometimes you just don't know how to change. And I think sometimes this help, you're laughing because I know you have a thought, right? Sometimes this help could be in the form of a professional help. Yeah. So if you feel that you are at a wit's end, if you feel that you really don't have the people around you who are able to help you, and you feel that you really don't know how to do this, it's okay to acknowledge you don't know. You may need to seek help, right? And don't think of seeking help as failure.
Yeah.
Think of seeking help as your way to grow.
Yeah.
Think of seeking help as a way to improve, to break out of things. So, and the help could be in the form of a coach. It could be going for therapy because it could be relating to your past, your history. And if you feel that some of these unresolved chapters are really bothering you, I think start looking for professional help.
Yeah, and why I smile at the point is because there was one point in my relationship that I was really grateful for a group of colleagues that stayed with me. And it was a moment where I asked them to stay with me.
Okay.
It was a particular very drama episode that if you know me, that part of my life, you will know which is that drama episode, but I will not go into the details. But it was a moment where I felt really scared, because of a upcoming confrontation with a boyfriend then.
Okay.
I was like, I felt alone. I needed people to be with me physically. So that was there where I remember that I told some of my colleagues, it was about 5 of them, I said that, okay, I have this situation. I'm very scared. Can you stay with me? Because I really needed your support.
Wow.
And I remember so clearly, and right now I remember this feeling because it was a particular moment where we had a very bad quarrel. Me and my boyfriend. We only 2 of us, we're in the corner quarreling. And then, and prior to that, I already told my colleagues that, okay, if you don't see me at this time, please come and look for me.
Okay.
I ask for their help.
Okay, very good. You preempt them already.
And then we were quarreling, right? And then, because my boyfriend's then his back was facing them. And then at the corner of my eye, I saw my group of colleagues came down. I saw them.
Right.
Wow, that moment where you know that help is there.
Yes.
You feel like, I can do this.
Yes.
Because you're no longer alone. You know that somebody is there rooting for you, waiting for you. Somebody is there waiting to save me from that such a difficult situation. Wow, that was just like, how do I say? It's like you're in the winter and then somebody giving you a warm cup of chocolate. That kind of feeling leh.
That's why we need good friends in life.
Yeah, so to that
That's why we
point,
need good
asking
friends
for
in
help,
life.
community,
Yes.
whether it's a friends or your family or coaches, therapists, go get it.
Totally.
Because
totally.
you can only control that
Totally.
People are more than willing to help, but you have to ask for it.
Yeah,
If you don't ask for it, nobody knows that you're suffering.
That's right.
Nobody knows
That's
that you're in a
right.
toxic relationship.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
knows that you
yeah.
need help, because from the outside of it, you look like you've got it all together.
Exactly.
You're
All of us
perfect.
look fine, right? We also look perfect.
You look
Yeah.
confident. You're good. I'm sure you got no problem. But it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Asking help is not a sign of weakness.
Yes, it's not a sign of
Yeah,
weakness.
so please let go of that thought. It is not serving you. And it's so interesting you brought that point about friends, because that nicely brought me to my third point. Set up your environment to support you. Visual tips. Be accountable to people you can trust, like your group of colleagues.
Yeah.
Identify situations that can trigger your unresolved chapters. Yeah. These are the things you can do. So set up your environment to support you. Yeah. So you can do something within your capacity to ensure that you're not falling into the unresolved chapters again.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to smartly design your environment to support you. Yeah. So that's one thing you can do on your own as well.
And I want to bring a point on just like you were saying, that learn from other people's mistakes. The thing is, when you are in a rock bottom,
Right.
okay, relationship or whatever, sometimes we feel when we are not asking for help, we don't ask for friends, we feel that we are alone. We feel that we're the only one suffering from this,
Going through this
misery.
issue, yeah.
We're the only one going through this issue.
Yeah.
But the truth is, most likely, whatever that you are feeling and suffering from, somebody else's have done it.
Totally.
Somebody else's have got out of it.
Totally.
Yeah, and there is help out there.
Yes.
But firstly, you have to recognize that you don't have to feel this way. If you are feeling shitty about I always say back to relationship, because this is where my most painful experiences are. Where in a shitty relationship, you don't have to accept it as a reality.
Yes.
There is a way. There is a way. And I want to point this out. This example, because I was in one part of my relationship was so bad that I felt that this is not right. I feel that I'm being abused, emotionally abused. But at that point in time, I didn't have the knowledge or the capacity,
All the language,
all the
maybe.
language,
Yeah.
but I know that something is not right. And then I start to question. That's after so many years of relationship, I started to question, what's wrong? And then I went to Google. Google can be your friend also.
That's true.
I went to Google abusive relationships. Then I realized there's two pillars.
Right.
One is physically abusive, where like hit and whatever.
Yes.
And one is emotionally abusive.
Right.
I'm like, oh wow, there's such thing as emotionally abusive relationship. And then I went to one of the US website.
Right.
The whole checklist of questions.
Everything was ticked.
Everything was ticked, I tell you. That was like
girl, that was such a red
that was like,
flag.
are you facing are you scared of everything I check? I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my
goodness.
god,
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked. I tell you, that was an aha moment for me. And I tell you, I'm so thankful to their website. I don't know what's the website. It's a US website, because they had practical tips on how to get out of an emotional relationship. I can tell you, they got step 1 to 20.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And they make it very specific and very clear. And I follow those instructions to the T. It was very uncomfortable, very difficult, but I follow because it was a professional website. You know, I think many people in a big country, like, they have this kind of emotional abusive relationships. And I follow it, and I got myself out of a emotional relationship, emotional abusive. And then, I was sharing with some people recently. I was listening to a podcast episode with Mel Robbins, right? She was interviewing this specialist who was focusing on narcissistic people. So today, then I realized that the person I fell in love with was a narcissist. A bit scary to say this, but I know that, that was a bad time of my life, but I didn't know the problem was he's a narcissist. I always thought the problem is me. I'm always apologizing for things that I didn't do wrong. And I say this because I'm hearing stories on Mel Robbins' podcast, on Dirty Messy Free, Sylvia's sharing. Narcissistic relationships, people are really out there. And that is their thing, right? But we can get ourselves out of it. Firstly, noticing that it's not a problem. It's not our fault. Stop apologizing for something that you didn't do wrong. So I was thankful to that website, thankful for the help of my colleagues that really got me out into another chapter.
That's fantastic. I think online resource is another place where you can go. If you feel that there are some things that are really bothering you, Google. For all you know, you could be finding something online that can help you, an article, website, suggestions. And I think I really enjoyed what you said about about you being able to label, what was the behavior that you were, that was really affecting you, right? That it was a narcissist behavior, and I feel that was important in part of in terms of your healing journey.
Yes, it is. Then I realized it's not my fault.
It's not your fault.
I mean, it is a chapter that's closed, but then there's really some real closure that this is a part of it, and then I've moved on, and how can I help others? I think this is the side that we want to bring across by sharing our stories.
For sure. And maybe one last thing I want to say is I want to say that don't fall into the trap of me versus them, right? I think it's very easy to say that, right? I mean, I'm not in the wrong. He or she's in the wrong. He or she is bad at X amount of lives. I think what I learned and developed over the years is I started also developing empathy.
Correct.
He or she may be narcissistic because he or she has some experiences in his or her life, and they have some work to do on their own. They may not realize they've got these issues, but you are not responsible for their issues. They have to work it out. But because of these issues, it's not possible for us to be together, right? But you need to protect yourself. You need to have your boundaries, but you need to call that out, and you need to be able to say, no, this doesn't work. But I just want to say that there are a lot of people hurting out there, and all of us are again shaped by our experiences, by our childhood. So a lot of times these toxic people may have gone through things on their own, and they probably need help as well. They need therapy. They need to talk to someone. They need to be aware, but it is not your job to fix them. I just want to say that it is not our job to fix them. That's never your responsibility. You fix yourself. You work on yourself. You are who you need to focus on. You're not responsible for them. But at the same time, I hope we all develop a bit of empathy. Because it's never so black and white. Life is never so black and white. It's never a you versus them thing. Sometimes we're all in the same shit, right? It's just the shit looks a bit different for everybody. Right? You have a shit, I have my shit. Our shit looks different, but we've got a shit, right? So learn to fix your own shit. And I think, and I think
focus on what you can control. Basically, it's just working on yourselves, and because rather than investing your energy and trying to fix them and change the way they think and behave, focus on yourself. Then that gives you that kind of more energy to work on what you can do. If not, you're just looping yourself in this cycle. It's actually you yourself and yourself.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point to kind of wrap it up, right? Cycle. You mentioned cycle. Unresolved chapters are like that. They are the cycles that you go through again and again. So we really hope that today's episode you are able to have a think about whether there are unresolved chapters in your life, and hopefully the little tips that we share and our examples that we share helps you to think a little bit more about unresolved chapters, and then you can decide for yourself how you're going to move on from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We hope this is a good episode for you. Wow.
I love it.
I love it too.
I love it.
It's a bit surprising.
It's a bit surprising.
But I like it. I think we have touched upon something that everybody can resonate with.
Yes.
Just like how we have our own shit. Find out your own shit, face it. It's okay. Face the discomfort, and then slowly move out of it. Because life can be joyful. Life can be happy. You get to decide. We have our bad days, but we always learn from the bad, and then we then choose to be joyful and happy.
Yes.
You have the power.
Right. Okay.
Good.
This is an interesting episode.
Yeah, interesting.
I kind of like it.
I like it too.
Okay, so yes, quotes.
I start first, Okay, so I'm quoting from Brené Brown again.
I love Brené
because I really like her.
Yeah.
So this goes: when we have the courage to walk into our balik.
Again.
When we have the courage to walk into our story and own it, we get to write the ending. And I think this sums up very nicely whatever we have talked about.
Ownership of your own story, yes.
Today, Jeremy and I'm so proud of you, Jeremy, and I'm proud of myself too, man.
Yes.
For having the courage to walk into this podcast episode, talk about our shit, talk about our unresolved chapters, and that's how we own it. And then we are now writing our ending. Our ending never ends anyway. And we're just enjoying creating the next step of our lives.
Yes. Yeah, I love the fact that you own your own story and you can be the author of your story. And don't feel like your story needs to be written by the world, because nobody can write your story. Only you can own your own story and write your own story.
And write the ending.
And write your ending. And maybe an amazing ending.
Yeah. Love it, love it.
Okay, my quote is from a best-selling author, Adam Grant. Yeah, he wrote Think Again and others. So the quote is, the best way to accelerate growth is to embrace, seek, and amplify discomfort.
Wow.
The best way to accelerate growth is to embrace, to seek, and to amplify discomfort.
Not only face discomfort, amplify. Tell us more.
So I chose it because, I was talking about the whole feeling of discomfort, of confronting myself, of really acknowledging who I am, and then from there it start to change.
Yeah.
Start to work things differently. So I think this part about being able to embrace discomfort is so very, very important, because then you prevent like a lifetime of resentment, where you don't want to be 20 years out the road and go like, shit, why am I like that? Because of all these, unresolved chapters that I've had in my life. But if you're able to do that now, you're able to feel discomfort, walk into discomfort. And I think from his point of view, I love the word amplify. Because when you say amplify discomfort, I'm imagining the greater the discomfort, the greater the growth.
Yes.
Right? That's why amplify, isn't it? The greater the discomfort, the greater the growth. So today, I really urge you, if you are feeling uncomfortable about a particular unresolved chapter, you are feeling very uncomfortable about changing, about being, about improving on certain things you need to work on, embrace that discomfort today and know that it will be uncomfortable today, but it's going to save you years of resentment.
And change is the only constant. The only way for you to grow is to change.
Yeah.
Change in small ways, big ways, but start with something that is unresolved first.
Yes.
Okay, great
What an
one.
episode.
Thank you so much for listening
Thank
to
you.
us. And if you have any feedback, reflections, if this speaks to you, please share with somebody that you know will benefit from this.
Yes.
Share it on your Spotify, share it on your Instagram, but just share it with somebody that you care about. I think this is all we ask for.
That's right. You never know who needs to hear this. You will never know.
Yes.
So the simple act of sharing, I think, could mean very much to somebody who is in need out there.
Yeah, thank you. And my name is Maddy.
My name is Jeremy. We are the Imperfect Rainbow. All right, see you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.